Here's something nobody puts on a poster. The middle class was designed to feel like progress. You get the degree, you get the job, you get the car, the mortgage, the credit card with the little travel rewards. And every year, if you're reasonably careful, the number in your bank account goes up just enough that you don't ask too many questions about where the rest of it went. That is not an accident. It's a system, and the system is working perfectly. Just not for you. But every once in a while, something shifts. A person starts making choices that the system didn't script for them. They don't announce it. There's no ceremony. No one sends a certificate. They just quietly stop being predictable. And the math, the actual math, starts bending in their direction for the first time. This video is about what that looks like. Not the motivational version, the structural version. 6 specific signs that someone is no longer stuck inside the trap. Most people spend their entire working lives inside, without ever knowing it was a trap at all. Let's start with some uncomfortable numbers. The median household income in the United States right now is roughly $75,000 a year. Sounds decent. But after taxes, housing, 2 cars, insurance, groceries, childcare, and the occasional dinner out, the average middle-class family saves somewhere between 0 and 4% of their income annually. Meanwhile, the top 10% of earners save north of 25%. That gap isn't about discipline. It's not about lots. It's structural. The middle class is caught at what economists quietly call a consumption trap. A condition where income rises just fast enough to justify expanding your lifestyle, but never fast enough to actually build the kind of wealth that generates more wealth. In 1971, a single factory worker could buy a house, support a family, and retire on a pension. In 2024, 2 college-educated professionals struggle to afford a starter home in a city with decent jobs. That's not a personal failure. That's a slow, decades-long structural squeeze. But here's the thing. The trap has seams, and if you know what to look for, you can tell when someone's found one. Sign 1. Your income has more than one source, and the second one doesn't require your time. This sounds obvious until you realize that 93% of Americans earn income from exactly one place. One employer, one paycheck, one point of failure. The middle-class trap runs on this dependency. When all your income requires your physical presence and continued employment, you are always one bad quarter, one restructuring announcement, one health event away from zero. The first crack in that trap is when you create a second income stream that pays you without an equivalent exchange of hours. Notice the specific phrasing there. Not a side hustle where you trade more time for more money. That's just a second job. The sign we're talking about is passive or semi-passive income, dividends, rental income, a digital product, royalties, a small business that runs without you managing every transaction. It doesn't have to be large. A second stream generating $300 a month isn't life-changing math, but it is proof of concept. Proof that your financial life is no longer entirely dependent on your body showing up somewhere. That's a different relationship with money, and it compounds. Sign 2. Most middle-class financial planning is built around income. Earn more. Get the raise. Hit the salary target. But income is a flow. Net worth is a position. You can earn $200,000 a year and have a net worth of negative $40,000. This is not hypothetical. It describes roughly 14% of American households earning six figures. Because high income makes debt feel manageable, you can service a car payment, a student loan, a personal loan, and a mortgage simultaneously on a good salary. And every month, you feel busy and productive and slightly stressed, but basically okay. You are not okay. You are asset poor and cash flow dependent. The shift happens when someone stops asking, "How much do I make?" and starts asking, "How much do I own?" minus everything I owe. And then starts making decisions based on that second number, paying down the mortgage aggressively, selling the depreciating asset, choosing the index fund over the new truck. Net worth thinking is a different operating system, and people running it are playing a different game entirely. Sign 3. You've stopped treating your home as your primary investment. This one is controversial. It's supposed to be. The single biggest financial myth sold to the middle class over the last 50 years is that your home is your most important asset. It is a beautiful myth. It is also, in most cases, mathematically questionable. Here is what actually happens when you buy a house. You take on a 30-year loan at, say, 7% interest. Over those 30 years, you will pay roughly twice the purchase price in total. You will pay property taxes every year. Maintenance. The industry rule of thumb is 1 to 2% of the home's value annually. Insurance. HOA fees in many cases. Meanwhile, the average home in the United States has appreciated at about 3 to 4% annually over the long run, roughly in line with inflation. You're not building wealth, you're storing it, while spending heavily on the container. Compare that to the S&P 500, which has returned roughly 10% annually over the same period. This is not an argument against home ownership. There are real non-financial reasons to own a home. Stability, community, control. Those are legitimate. But the moment someone stops telling themselves their mortgage is their investment strategy and starts actually investing separately, that's when the trap loosens. The people escaping understand that home equity is illiquid, concentrated, and expensive to maintain. They buy homes because they want to live in them, not because they've confused real estate with a portfolio. Sign 4. You've had a genuine conversation about money that wasn't about a crisis. Middle-class money culture is almost entirely reactive. You deal with money when money deals with you. The shift we're describing here is subtle, but seismic. It's when someone starts having proactive, calm, strategic money conversations with a partner, with a financial advisor, even with themselves in the form of an actual written plan, not crisis management, architecture. When someone starts designing the house, you can usually see it in how they talk. Slower, more specific, less anxious, like they've found a map in a room where everyone else was navigating by feel. Sign 5. Your spending on depreciating assets has quietly dropped, and you didn't even announce it. Cars. Let's just talk about cars for a moment. The average American spends $12,000 a year on vehicle-related costs. Purchase price amortized, insurance, maintenance, fuel, registration. $12,000 every year on something that loses 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot and continues losing value every year until it's worth almost nothing. The middle class spends more on vehicles than on retirement, in aggregate. That statistic is so absurd it sounds made up. It is not made up. Here is a pattern that shows up consistently in the financial trajectories of people building real wealth. At some point, they quietly stop upgrading. The car gets older, and they don't replace it on schedule. The phone gets a case instead of a replacement. The closet stays the same size, not because they're suffering, because the dopamine hit of the upgrade stopped competing with the satisfaction of watching the brokerage account grow. This sounds like a personality change. It's actually an information change. Once you've seen compound interest work on your own money, actually watched a portfolio grow from $10,000 to $14,000 to $20,000 over a few years without you touching it. Consumer spending starts to feel like what it actually is. Selling your future at a discount to feel slightly better today.